John, GE's got 300,000 employees. You're doing business all over the world. What are you seeing in terms of global CSR?
Well, I lived in Singapore 15 years ago, and we tried to get stuff going at that time, and we weren't really that successful in getting employees excited about it, or frankly finding ways to give back in the Singaporean community. And I was a little perplexed and frustrated, and it took me a while to figure out exactly why that was the case. And the basic point is that people had an expectation, and it wasn't just Singapore, but in a lot of countries, that the government was going to take care of things, and that in the end they would just go to the government and the government would fix it. Well, certainly in the last 15 years, it's become clear that governments aren't capable of fixing a lot of the issues that exist today, and that's where these efforts now have taken on an enormous level of significance, and governments kind of expect you to do this. It's changed in an incredible way in the 15 or 20 years that I've been paying a lot of attention to it, and I think it speaks very well to the efforts that are represented by the people in this room. Has to happen. It's the same thing here. I mean, we can't fix the healthcare system in the United States if you don't coalesce the efforts of a lot of different groups, including private companies, nonprofits, some government. It's going to take everybody.
Staying on this global question, and John, I'll ask you this time. You do business once again all over the world. Do you worry about America's ability to remain competitive in this global marketplace that we find ourselves in?
I'm kind of paid to worry about our ability to remain competitive as a company and as an American. But I also see examples every day where we compete. I mean, we build gas turbines in Greenville, South Carolina, locomotives in Erie, Pennsylvania, and jet engines in Evendale, Ohio, and we send them all over the world. And we do it as well or better than anybody else with high-cost labor. So, you can offset. I mean, the moral of the story is, with the right level of flexibility, a level playing field, well-trained people, you can offset $50 an hour wages. And we do it every day. If you don't have those offsets, then you might have a competitive advantage in the United States, and somebody else in some other country might be able to do it better. But we don't have to give up.
Jack, do you have a sense of America's role in terms of what you're seeing in your business?
I don't know. I think something new is happening. I think we have a faster spreading of ideas, and the location of that idea isn't necessarily as meaningful as it once was. I think it is meaningful for an idea to start somewhere, and I think that still has a lot of weight. But in Twitter's case, in a lot of technology, we have a global workforce defining the product. And I think it's up to the originating company and the originating spark of the idea to make sure that to really become an editor of all of these voices. I think that's been our greatest success at Twitter, is we've had all these people come to the service worldwide and build these features on top of it, and we integrated them into what the product is. And I think America specifically has an ability to take this global conversation and really edit it into a cohesive narrative, but from a storyline perspective, but also from a product and a corporate perspective. And I think it's going to be challenging transferring to that sort of idea, because it's a whole new sort of conversation and a whole new experimentation. But I think it's a reality. Like we're just seeing more and more of the actual building of stuff happen outside of this country, and I think that's okay. I think it's really good because it allows for a lot of variety that you know, we just didn't imagine here.
Frank?
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of linkage going on now. I think location specific, because of all the ability to communicate in many different ways. You know, you can also have a video conference today that is the quality of sitting next to each other that before we didn't.
Not so good for the hotel business.
Yeah, I understand. It hasn't changed it hasn't changed our travel numbers, believe me. But having said that, and I believe what it's really changed is the ability to collaborate. So I think collaboration, which used to be a really nice used term, is now a well-executed, defined from every specific level, whether you're building a portal where you take your technologists in Mumbai and your technologists in Seattle, and they're coming together to build things. So I don't believe any of that changes the competitive advantages of America, though, because I think you know, there is a lot of capital that comes out of this country, both human capital and economic capital, that drives those type of activities. And I've always been a proponent of what John said, that low-cost location may not be the most productive way to do something if I have skills, if I have integration. So I think what we've done is get a much larger playing field that no longer is location specific because of the integration tools that exist. And then we have to put the human capital and we have to put the economic capital behind it to really be as competitive as we could always be. But I think it just improves our ability to do stuff. So time to market is way better. Execution efficiency is way better. Execution quality is way better. And global leverage. And it's not about low-cost location strategy for me ever. It's really about where can the work get best done. So I don't believe. I believe if we cut short the investment in people, you know, those billion-dollar investments we talk about, and we be short-sighted about how to govern economically, that we'll lose a competitive advantage.
Great, thank you. Have a few minutes for questions from the audience. I think Natalie has been getting cards and collecting them. So Natalie, why don't you ask one or two questions, please?
Good morning, gentlemen. This question is for Jack. How do you make sure the content of Twitter is news and not noise? Will too much noisy content decrease Twitter's relevance?
News, not noise. Well, it's interesting because like when we first started out, we had a lot of critique that Twitter was a completely useless service. People would actually get offended by it because they would go to the site and they're like, I don't want to know what my brother is eating for lunch. That is ridiculous, and I can't believe you created this thing in the world. You should be ashamed. And then we found that 2 or 3 weeks later, these same people would come back to the service and find some value in it, find some relevancy, and then be inspired to continue and you know, never leave. And I think the important thing is a technology like Twitter is completely recipient controlled. You're writing on a wall, people are going up to the wall, and they choose whether to stay there or not. They choose how they want to interpret it. So me sending a message of I'm having oatmeal this morning is useless to 99.999% of the world, but it's extremely useful to my mom. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Is like I think technology's biggest challenge in the next 5 years is now that we have this easy way to create a bunch of news, is how do we extract it and surface it in real time in a relevant way, and at the same time provide a cohesive narrative around it, because we have this great ability now to be anywhere and provide these quote unquote man on the street accounts. but they're oftentimes biased. They need some work, they need some fact checking, and I think our biggest challenge is to provide the technologies for that, and also get people focused, making sure that we have these stories in a way that makes sense and ties the loose ends together.